these are all the books. This is a lot of books, it's a bit heavy. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Hi, my name is Richie and I'm so excited that you're here. As you can guess from the title, in this video I'm going to be doing my July wrap up and I'm so excited. I had such a good month, I feel like, with reading. I have a few 5 stars, a few 4 stars, a few kind of mid books, but overall it was still pretty good. So I'm really excited to go through the books that I read in July. There were a few books that I read from videos, so you'll probably recognize them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna get right into it and talk about all the books that I read in July. I think there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, let's just get straight into it and I'll talk about the books that I read. So the first books that I read for the month were part of my video where I did Instagram chooses my books for a week, and that was a really fun video, to be honest. It was so good seeing people's opinions when I posted like different books to choose from, and yeah, it was a really fun video. The first book that I read for the month because of that video was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This book was so good. This was sort of what got me into YA mystery and a little bit of thriller as well. Like, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I think I love the set out of this as well because it was done under like the pretense of it being a school report assessment sort of piece, and because of that you got to see like how she like interpreted different events and different interviews that she's done, because she kept like production logs. So I really found this interesting. I think I give this 5 stars, I'm not too sure, but honestly this is such a good book. I definitely would give it 5 stars. It got me into my little thriller mystery era, even if it's just YA. I really enjoyed it and I'm really excited to read the second book in this one. Basically this follows Pip and Rowie kind of. So basically Pip is doing like a report on this murder that happened in her town quite a few years ago, and she just doesn't believe the person that was accused of doing it did it, and so she just is kind of clearing his name under the guise of doing this project. And she is on this journey and she works with the accused guy's brother, and then they sort of form a relationship, friendship. And yeah, it's actually so good. I really enjoyed it, so definitely recommend. This was a 5-star read for me and it was a great start to the month. The second book that I read was from the same video. It was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This book was a bit of a flop for me. I feel like I've talked about it quite a few times. I did enjoy Lucy Score's writing. Even though it's such a thick, massive book, it actually went by quite fast because the writing was really good. I just didn't connect with the characters as much, but I'm excited to read the second book in the series. It is part of the Knock 'Em Out series. Knock 'Em Out is the name of a small town. I'm pretty sure they're like interconnected standalones. I'm sure we'll get characters from the first book and the second one and stuff, but I don't think you necessarily need to read it in order. But I think maybe it's good because I think a lot of the stuff that happens in the first book affects the main guy in the second book, which is Nash. He's the brother of Knox, so he kind of goes through some shit in this book towards the end, and I think that like is dragged on into the second. Anyway, either way, this basically follows Knox and Naomi. Naomi's sister is a bit of a troublesome child, and well, not really a child, she's a woman, but she's a bit of a troublemaker in her family, and essentially she ropes Naomi to leave her wedding and drive out to this town and help her, but then she gets there and no one's there, and basically she ends up finding her niece who she has to look after, and she didn't even know she had a niece, and it's this whole thing. So she's sort of adjusting to this new caretaker role. Everyone in the town is super supportive. At first they don't like her because she looks exactly like her sister and no one likes her sister, but as the story goes on she just creates amazing relationships with the people in the town. I really enjoyed the found family aspect of this because they all just rallied and were there to support each other. Like her family, his family, and other people, other friends that they made all had just came together in this book, and I really enjoyed that. I think Lucy Score did an amazing job in writing all of that, but the actual main characters kind of lacked a lot of depth for me. They were kind of just a bit, I don't know what the word is, but it just wasn't my vibe. I think I gave this one 3 stars. It's not bad, it's not good. I can see why people enjoy this. I would definitely recommend it if it's something I think would be your style, but yeah, for me, just the main characters didn't do it for me. Alright, so the third book that I read this month, also part of the same video, was His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. The writing was a little bit slow at the start, but as it kept going and as I was figuring out who this killer was, it was honestly so good. There's dual POV in this book, but also a third POV of the killer, which you don't know until the very end, and I honestly thought I had figured out by the end, and I was like, oh, I knew who did it, and then I like read another chapter or something and I was like, I had it all wrong. And it's crazy. I think the twist is like honestly crazy in this one because I just didn't expect it. Basically, the story follows Anna and Jack. Anna is a news reporter and Jack is a DCI in his town, and they were married. They're not married anymore. There is like a murder in their small town that they were both part of. Jack still lives there. Anna doesn't. She lives in the city now, so she goes back to the town to report on the news, and just a lot of stuff happens, and it goes back in time as well because something happened in their childhood, or her childhood specifically, and it kind of goes back in time to kind of explain why the murders are happening, and they're just trying to get to the bottom of it. It's honestly really good. I just wanted to keep reading to figure out what was happening. Looking back, I don't know if I give this 4 or 5 stars, but I think I'd stick with a 4-star rating for this one. But yeah, that was His and Hers. Thoroughly enjoyed. I'm excited to read Alice Sweeney's writing, and I might get another book of hers. Alright, so the next books that I read were also for a different video. They were the Boyfriend Picks My Reads video, and the first book that I read in that video was Bunny by Mona Ward. So this book was a bit of a crazy one. I don't even know what happened in this. Like, a lot of stuff happened. Basically, this follows Samantha, who's in this master's program, and it's for like writing and literature, and essentially there's a clique of girls in her workshop and she just finds them really weird. They call each other Bunny, and she just finds them really interesting as well. Like, she wants to be a part of them, but she also doesn't like them, and just a lot of weird shit happens in this. I personally didn't enjoy this too much. I can see why people would enjoy this and think it's like just a weird story to follow along, but I felt like it was written really like pretentiously. Like, it didn't, I don't know, it just didn't hit for me. I don't know if the point of the book was like to make you think about read specific things, but it just didn't hit for me like that. It just made me think this book is weird. Honestly, I'm really impressed by the author, that she created this world and created this like entire thing. I don't know how her mind did it, but I mean, it's crazy. Honestly, if you've read it, you would know. But I think it's just like not a book for me. I think I gave this 2 stars just because it's not my vibe. I don't think 2 stars is honestly that bad. I think 2 stars can be like, it's just not for me. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, I think it's an interesting read. I would definitely recommend people to read this just because I want people to talk to it about this book and be like, what the hell, did you find this weird as well? But apart from that, I don't think I would really ever think about this book. That was a bit of a dud, but I don't know, it was something different, so I'm glad I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone and read something different. So yeah. Okay, now we're kind of getting into like the good books. The next book I read was probably the most exciting book that I've been wanting to read, and it is Magnolia Parks. I am still, you know, recovering from this book. It is the most insane book I've ever read. I just don't even understand. When I was editing my video for My Boyfriend Chooses My Books and stuff, this is one of the books I was reading in that video, and I was just looking back at my reactions as I was editing, and I was like, that is insane that this book elicited so many incredible emotions out of me. Everything I felt when I was reading this was pretty much everything I felt when I watched like Gossip Girl for the first time and things like that. Like, it was amazing, and I thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of this. I cried, I laughed, I hated everyone, and I loved them at the same time. You either hate it because of the toxicity, or you either love it because of the toxicity, and I unfortunately love it because of the toxicity. I gave this a 5 stars, obviously. I'm really excited to read Daisy Hates. I'm kind of scared to read Daisy Hates because, you know, when like a book is like kind of too good, you just like don't want to keep reading the series. Like, I'm kind of like in that phase right now. It sounds bad, it sounds stupid, but I don't know, I will read Daisy Hates eventually. The next book that I read this month was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This book was such a pleasant surprise. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like, it was kind of slow at the start, but like, I think a little bit into the book it really picked up. I really enjoyed this book so much, guys. It is such a sweet little read, and it just talked about so many things. I don't know, it does mention like grief a little bit because something happens in her family, a tragedy occurs, and she ends up going home to her family and their town, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. Like, I just didn't think I would, but I know a lot of people do love this as well. I love the ending. It just made me so happy, and yeah, it was just cute, sweet little read. I gave this 4 stars, 4.5 I think. I really enjoyed this one. This one follows Florence, who is a ghostwriter, and basically she has a bit of writer's block. She can't come up with another idea. She doesn't believe in love. She went through a breakup and she's just going through it right now, and she tells her new editor, who is Benji, and then basically it's not off to a great start there, but then she has to head home because something happens in her family, and when she goes home she sees Benji there, and she's like, what just happened? I saw you like 2 days ago and now you're dead. And he's like a ghost, and they're just trying to figure out why he died, while she's figuring out how her life and her family and just things that are happening there. And it's just a sweet little read. Like, I really enjoyed it. And then after that, just a lot of romance this month, but I read Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I actually enjoyed this a lot, but I felt like it was kind of long in some parts. Like I just felt like not even just like the politics side of things, but I just felt like some things were really dragged out, and I honestly felt like some parts of it were written in the hopes that this book would become a movie. Like, does that make sense? Like, there was just some scenes and I was like, I could really visualize it, and it just felt like she wrote those scenes in specifically so it could be a movie. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know. Either way, I did enjoy this. I loved how their relationship formed. Basically, this follows Alex, who is the first female president of the United States' son, and Prince Henry, who is like the Prince of Wales. They don't get off to a good start. Alex doesn't really like him. They're like forced to like have this like PR friendship, and while, you know, they're becoming friends, they, you know, start talking and actually become friends, and, you know, start liking each other and all of this stuff, and it's just so sweet. And I love seeing how their relationship grows, and it talks a lot about like, you know, figuring out your sexuality and all of that. I think I gave this 4 stars, but like I said, it's just a little bit long in some places, and I felt like some scenes didn't need to happen. Like, it didn't add too much to the plot. I think just with like the politics side of things, I was just like, I don't care, I'm just here for the love story. But anyway, this was a good read, another banger for the month. After that, I read a book that was literally everyone was non-stop talking about for a long time. I think I've seen videos about this book since like December last year, so it is very popular and very well known, and it is a thriller. It is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. This book was a bit of a disappointment for me. I gave this book 3 stars, and I'll tell you why. Basically, the story follows Millie and Nina, or like the Winchesters, if you will. Millie becomes their housemaid. She has a bit of baggage, bit of history. She was in prison for a bit, and yeah, so she is their housemaid. At first, she finds Nina really nice and stuff, and over time, Nina just becomes really weird, lying about random things and just acting just really weird. And because of that, she like grows to resent her, and then stuff happens. Part 1 of this book literally was so slow for me. Like, I know what it was trying to do. It was trying to build up that Nina was being a weirdo and doing weird things and lying and all of that, and I almost like just didn't even want to continue for a bit because it just felt really slow, and I felt like I kind of understood that Nina was a bad person. Like, it didn't need to be like that long. I don't know if it's just me, but I just found it quite slow. It definitely picked up in the second half, but I don't think the plot twist was doing what it thought it did to me. I felt like it kind of made sense what happened in the plot twist, and I think there was like another plot twist after that, but I also figured out that one, and I also assumed that one would also be happening. I just didn't find it that like crazy to me. Like, the very end of the book, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't know why I was so hyped up. It was a pretty generic thriller, to be honest. And then after that, I read Hotlist by Elsie Silver. I read Flawless last month, and I was like, it's time for me to pick up another cowboy romance. Let me get the second book in the series. So Hotlist is the book that I picked up. I really enjoyed this book. It was everything that I wanted. I wanted a fluffy little romance, but I just loved Cade and Willa's relationship. This book basically follows Cade and Willa. So Cade is Rhett's older brother from the first book, and Willa is Summer's best friend, and they just have this like sweet relationship. I feel like basically Cade hires Willa to be his son's nanny for like the summertime. The relationship that Cade's son and Willa form is one of the sweetest relationships ever. Like, it was so sweet and wholesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That kid was so cute. Everything he did was just really sweet, and it just made me so happy that he had like such a nice relationship with Willa. And then basically over time, Cade and Willa start forming feelings, and they get closer, and things happen, and it's just really sweet. I really enjoyed it. I will say though that the ending of the book, like the stuff that happened at the end, it was just not what I expected. I didn't think that sort of trope was happening in this book, and then it suddenly did, and I was like, what? This just came out of nowhere. I personally didn't like that it happened like that, to be honest. They kind of did it in a way as maybe like a salute to Cade's past. I'm not too sure, but I personally just didn't like it that much. But overall, the book was really sweet. I love their relationship and how it grew, and I don't know, I just love seeing all the other characters from the other books and seeing a little glimpse of the characters for the next book as well, which is Jasper and Sloane, I'm pretty sure. But I did enjoy it. I think I gave this 4 stars. I think all of the Chestnut Spring series is going to be like 4 stars for me because they're just a good series overall, and I really enjoy them. The last book that I read this month, I was very pleasantly surprised by this book because I didn't know if I would enjoy it, but I did, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to tell you guys. It is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Literally thoroughly shocked me. It is a YA fantasy. Basically, this follows Evangeline, who's a bit of a hopeless romantic, if you will. Like, she believes in a happily ever after. Basically, she kind of gets dumped, and then the guy that she was with ends up being engaged to her stepsister, and then she goes to the Prince of Hearts and strikes up a deal to try and stop the wedding, and then a lot of stuff happens, and just so much is always going on. The plot twist in this book I really enjoyed, and the mystery was definitely like, you know, what was happening with the magic world and all the people and all the things that were happening, especially in regards to her sister or stepsister, sorry, marrying her lover and all of that. But I just really enjoyed it so much, and the little glimpses that you got to see of Jax and Evangeline and their like little relationship was really good. I like thoroughly enjoyed it, and I didn't think I would enjoy fantasy, but I think I really love like a fairy tale-esque fantasy. A fairy tale fantasy just makes it so much more interesting. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars, and I'm really excited to read The Ballad of Never After as well, which is the book after this one, and I'm really excited to see how that one goes. But that was the last book that I read in the month of July. These are all the books that I read in the month of July. Definitely I had a few good ones and a few bad ones. I'm excited to see how many books I'll read in August. I also posted my TBR video. If you haven't already watched that, I used a prompt jar, which I've never done before, and it was actually quite fun. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.